The scene would open on a parking lot. It was a double-layered, two-floored affair. I was amongst a group of individuals. The impressions I had were of the more aware variety, new friends and such. The only two I identified were Kelsey and another individual, the other who will remain nameless. Seems we were waiting for something. A sense of expectation and anticipation pervaded the scene. Then a tremendous rumbling began. The parking lot we stood upon, for we were on the uppermost level, began to tremble and produce immense sounds of stone grinding protestation. The parking lot was disintegrating beneath our feet. But we were not perturbed. Seems we had expected this, and acted accordingly, without consideration or panic. The one I won't name became a little manic and afraid, and so I offered that said person clamber upon my back, that I provide a piggyback ride. For as the building began collapsing into a void, it would seem, we were running to the outermost edge of it. And it wasn't a suicide bid either, for just as we would run out of floor, as we bolted toward the edge, wings would spring forth from our backs, and we took to the skies. Seems the presence of this individual on my back wasn't affecting my flying ability, and we all soared into the skies. We would land on other platforms above the collapsing building, rather like a temporary rest spot before presumably heading still further. Of all the others, I could see no sign. They must be on platforms beyond my range of vision. But for two individuals that I sat in the middle of on my platform, I'm uncertain as to their identities. Not even sure if one of them was the one I had afforded a piggyback ride to, and the dream would conclude there. So, what we have then is the building with its two floors representing the two bottom rungs, literally speaking, of creation, the physical and astral. We don't need reminding of how creation is in a demise due to the restricted consciousness of all the individuals throughout it, and how they are subconsciously programmed and unconsciously in agreement to ideas that are bringing about the deteriorating psych realms. The ideas stemming from individuals maintaining as best they can control of creation, a stranglehold on awareness, and this is reflected in the simulation in which we all reside, through collective cause and effect. As awareness is restricted, it causes a retraction and moves us through the epochs and the impending implosion exhibited in creation. Seems then creation will implode from the bottom up, the physical, then astral, until the entire simulation is engulfed in the tumultuous final maelstrom of destruction. And in my dream, This is demonstrated, the parking lot having 2 floors, suggesting the physical and astral as the first to go. Or perhaps the aware individuals on the top level were maybe on the ethereal at this point, or some slightly higher position in the life levels. Maybe the bottom rungs of creation had already fallen, and we had secured a position in life levels that were temporarily safe, but nevertheless destined through the decisions, choices, and agreements that this becomes so to fall also. But we had the awareness, we had the real intent recognized, and with our recognition and sincerity to supersede creation, we sprouted our awareness wings and flew beyond what had been, up until now, a safe position in the imploding psych realms. The leaping from the building, a demonstration of jumping into the unknown also, taking the risk, reaching for something beyond what we had always known. For if we would not, if we remained there, embraced whatever spot in creation we had secured for ourselves, we would fall with creation. And where we were, there were no panicking individuals, no sign of the unaware masses who would be running amok in abject terror as their positions of assumed comfort began to disintegrate around their self-convinced heads. So we were very likely on a life position beyond these masses, and aware that even here we could continue our process of awareness, and is recognition less interfered with, but should make haste, as our new spot wouldn't be secure for long. But there was that individual who did get a little panic-stricken, but was still there with us, so must have the recognition to be there at that moment. Maybe not quite having recognized enough that allows effectively flight beyond this place, but a demonstration then, as I afforded a ride to that individual, how we all support each other. But also we could view this as demonstrating how we cannot carry anyone into the upper levels or the real universes of the is, for it is a recognition, and this falls upon the responsibility of every individual that they take the time to recognize the is for themselves. Dwayne often says how the guides, as an example, cannot drag people into the real universes, and even if they did, the individual would not recognize where they were if they hadn't taken the time to do so. The fact I was attempting to maybe, yes, carry this individual evidently didn't work, in keeping with this notion of it being up to each and all to recognize, earn their way, and decide to stand real with the is. And of this individual there was no further sign, so who knows? Maybe the fact I had attempted to assist this individual had maybe limited myself as well to a degree, For I would see no sign of Kelsey and all the others. Only two individuals were in my company, and possibly one of them the one I attempted to assist. But then again, and so I had not only caused perhaps a restriction and consequently a lesser position for myself, but hadn't even managed to help the individual anyway, as it was all down to his recognition. For it is the emotional attachments that keep dragging us down to creation and future lifetimes. It is all very well if individuals move together at an equal pace in their awareness and recognition, but should one fall back through their choices and decisions, we have to let them go. We can't be the decider for them. And if we maintain attachment with them as they falter in their intent and waver in their resolve, falling back to their personal self, then we may find ourselves becoming limited also, much like Dwayne, where he was with Heather and his family. They chose to go only so far, but Dwayne had the real intent to go further, and so at a point he had to let them go and break any emotional attachments with them. It seems then those that took flight did reach beyond creation, superseding it. Or perhaps what was demonstrated here was the destruction of the physical and astral levels, and the platforms we landed on were positions higher in the life levels. Either way, we can see it is another verification of the impending collapse of creation, and that even if we do have the recognition to assume a position that is relatively safer within it, we must not become complacent. We must continue with our awareness process to make that final leap into the unknown, the recognition of the is, and to stand real with it. And we can't allow ourselves to be dragged back by others. Everyone must decide their lives for themselves. They must take the time to recognize the is, and realistically, we can help them, but we can't carry them with us if they lack the drive to do so for themselves. And that ends Dream 1.
Can I say something here, Kevin?
Yes, you certainly may.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a movie, yes. You have to write these things out and share them so people can read them also. Yeah, so the points here, the parking lot, very interesting. In other words, where people are parked, so they're parked in creation, which is understandable. This is not a put down to people. We all go through this process, but we're here, taking on the adventure to show people how to wake up. And it's a lot because there's huge agreement. The dark brats, or the cabal, or whatever we want to call them, the reptilians, they've been working on this for eons because to get people to agree to be controlled, and by that very fact, this creates the imploding effect through all of creation. And we're just in a little ball of creation here. There's endless creations because each group of, we'll just say souls. Soul is the unaware until they become new, and that is that, it's life is endless, and so there are endless creations, and we just happen to be in this one. That's all. It's just like a schoolroom. It's a big schoolroom. It's not as big as people think. It looks big, but it's really not, but it doesn't matter. It's here, it's consciousness. We create the consciousness, and it's all okay. And so what we're providing is a small window, and what you're seeing is like a future view too, and that isn't, and you're being prepared to have the experience already. So you see that. That is, we're providing a small window here, but it's not going to last. We can only do so much. We, just like when Paul was here, he did so much and then he left, and it was all taken over, etc. So there was that small window there, and the people that are looking at it now, well, the writings are there, the references there, according to what took place at that time. And this is the new nowness. Now it's more focused on this isness, and this is where most of the world doesn't see it, because it's the next step, because of what is taking place in creation. And so it's a real heads up. So yes, people do have to pay attention and get it 100% focused, because this personal life, it's going to go anyhow. And if you hold on to it, well, you're going to go with it. So again, we're giving people the warning. It's time to wake up all the way through this creation, because just like the black holes in the galaxies, it is imploding on itself. It is sucking down through itself is what it's doing. And so again, we're going to do so much here with what's coming up, with what we're doing now, but we can only do so much. We cannot, excuse me, we cannot force people to see what's going on. And again, they've been so self-convinced, and you see how it is today with what's, the technology plays a huge part in this. And again, people have been convinced, and they agree that technology is a good thing. Well, actually, it's holding people back, is what it's doing. But we have to deal with it. So it's dealing with it. But it's a decision. Now that a person has this, they have the right to decide, take the risk, figure it out while they're doing their routine. Yes, thank you so much, Kevin. It's very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dwayne.